Hey you guys, so I'm chilling in my car and just thinking on some things, and I'm realizing I probably need to start a series regarding some different things that I processed through or have been processing through since I've been unemployed. And I feel like maybe I need to share it beyond myself and beyond just like trying to write a really long Facebook post. So this is like, I guess this will be the first video of a series. And so you guys can kind of look out for that. But I just wanted to share some stuff that I've been working through and kind of processing through, thinking on, praying on, etc., around relationships and specifically friendships, especially because there's, of course, multiple kinds of relationships you can enter into, of course, but regarding friendships. And the one thing, or the main point that I can make at this point is that we should never feel like we have to convince someone or talk someone into being around us, being in our life, staying, friends with us, staying connected with us, etc. That's something that has to happen internally, and if you want to call it in their head, in their heart, in their spirit, in their soul, whatever you consider kind of the inner self, that's something that has to happen in the inner self of the other person. So if you feel like, hey, this friendship's going great, I want to do this, I don't want to let you go, I don't want you to let me go, you still want the other person to come to that conclusion within themselves. And I think I've found myself in the past trying to convince people, but I'm such a good person, or this is going so great, you do this for me, I do A, B, and C for you. And of course, those are the conclusions that I've come to, and my 2 cents matters because a relationship is a two-way street. But I don't want anybody to stay around because I feel like I don't want anybody to stay around because I've sort of pulled them in, I've forced them in, or I've convinced them based on some conclusions that I've come to, because I know that that's not going to be firm ground for them to stand on, and eventually I'm going to be watching them try to walk out of the door again because they're going to come to the same conclusions they already have come to in their own minds. And in conjunction with the idea of that, I think we also need to recognize that sometimes we are the toxic, environment that a person wants to or needs to leave. And we have to not just look at, oh, you're leaving because you don't care about me, because I don't matter to you, because, we can run down that long list of negative things that we've come to conclusions about the other person. But we need to recognize that sometimes, based on another person's perspective and another person's emotions and what they are feeling, we can't decide what they're feeling. We can't decide what they see. We can't decide what has offended them or has turned them away, or, we can't decide that for them. That's something that goes on, again, in that inner self. And we can't say, well, I've been such a good person to you and I've done everything, my intentions have always been good. You can't base it on that. You have to base it on what they've seen and what they've experienced. And you have to acknowledge and respect what they've experienced. And sometimes what can happen is, you let a person go because they say, hey, this is the last time I want to talk to you. Whether they're angry and they're like, screw you, go away. Or they're just feeling, at peace with letting you go. You have to allow that. And you can't force people to stay around. Even if well, last week you said A, B, and C about me, and you said this, and this about our friendship. It doesn't matter. You have to let people go. Even if it hurts you to the core of your being, even if you know that you still have so much to offer them, or you were gleaning so much from that relationship with them, you have to let people go. If it is a relationship that is rooted in something good, that's going to move forward well, then of course that person is going to come to that conclusion. Like I said, they're going to do that inner work within themselves and say, hey, so-and-so really was a solid person. I've forgiven them. And not only do I forgive you, but I also want to continue forward in relationship with you. You have to let that person come to that moment themselves. And then you also have to recognize that they may not ever feel like that. And that's okay. I believe in a higher power, and I know that I allow his control in my life, and I want to be able to say, okay, if a person is in or a person is out, it's based on something that he allowed to happen. And I also know that just within myself, I don't feel at peace when a person is around and they haven't chosen to continue to be around. Like, that's not fun, you know? You always have that sense of like, you really don't want to be here. Or, you know, you call them and they seem to kind of say, oh, I don't know, every time you invite them to something or somewhere, or you want to do something with them, or you try to engage a conversation, start a text conversation, or try start a phone conversation, or, you know, you see them in person. If it's somewhere, you know, maybe it's in a place where you're always seeing them in person, and you try to engage with them and you just don't feel that, you know, back and forth with them. And that's uncomfortable. That's frustrating. And there's nothing that you can do that's going to just like lock it into place and get them, you know, back on track. Like, it's not up to you. It's just not. You know, of course you can put your 2 cents in and let somebody know, I care about you. I love you. You know, I would love to have you in my life if that's something that feels good and comfortable to you. But you also, again, you don't want to be forceful about it. You don't want to say, this is going so well, why would you walk away from this? There's something wrong with you, you know? And I've been in that place where I felt like that, like, okay, something wrong with you then if you don't want to be with me, because I'm a loving and a wonderful person. Like, it doesn't come down to your own perspective of yourself, which is kind of, it sucks sometimes, because you know, like, you've done everything that you could to like encourage this person or love on this person or whatever, but you also have to recognize that people's perspectives are based on what they've been through. They're based on how they were raised. They're based on what they know. People see you in their own, through their own filters, through their own, you know what I'm saying. But either way, I just wanted to put that out there. And then also, give me a minute. I want to share some scriptures as well with anybody who stands on and believes in the Bible when it comes to it being, you know, a place of advice and a book for life. And I want you guys to know that this isn't just something I just came up with. You know, of course I can add my own experience and my own anecdotes, but I don't want to just offer to people anecdotes from my own limited, you know, knowledge and understanding of the world around me. I also want to give you information from, you know, a higher power, because I know that I don't know everything, but I, of course, like I said, I believe in a higher power. I believe in, you know, a God that knows and sees all. So if you give me a minute, I'm going to share some scripture with you as well, if that's something that stirs your heart, and if that's something that you also stand firmly on. Yeah. Hey, okay, so I'm inside now. And I just took a minute to look up some scriptures and stuff to offer to you guys. So hopefully it'll be helpful. There's probably only one that I actually want to read to you, but the rest hopefully will be helpful just for your study. I'm not going to sit here and just read scripture after scripture. You can have your personal moment about this and pray on it yourself and think on it yourself if you do, again, want to study the scriptures by yourself. I've got Romans 12:19, James 5:16, Colossians 3:13, Proverbs 18:19, Luke 6:35, Proverbs 12:26, and then also Proverbs 22 verses 24 to 25. In conclusion, I just want to say, when it comes to a friendship that's broken, that you're hurting about, or you want to try and repair, number one is you got to let people go. Number two, make sure you check yourself. And number three, only offer apology, kindness, and grace to that person, even if you feel wronged or you feel like you didn't do anything wrong. You want always to be at peace with people, even if they aren't necessarily at peace in your direction. If that makes sense. Maybe you'll catch it later. But the one that I do want to read, like I said, is Romans. I think it's the first one I gave you, but I'll read it. Just so y'all can hear it out loud. Romans 12. I'm literally looking in the Bible, and this is the King James version, so Don't mind me if it sounds a little over your head, but Romans 12:19 says, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord." So it's not up to you to try and bring justice. Give it to God. And I mean, maybe you don't necessarily believe in God. Still doesn't mean you should go out with the torch trying to take somebody down, or go manipulating their friends or manipulating mutual friends y'all got, or whatever. Just do what you can to be at peace with folks. But I love y'all, and remember, you are loved, you have purpose, and I'll see you next time the sun shines.